All right, looks like we're live. We're all set. Check Facebook. Okay, we're good there. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. What time is it? 11. It's good morning. Or whenever you're watching this, thank you for joining us. We are here again to discuss our new book for the Readers Professional Development Book Club. And so I'm Jamie Chavez, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber, and I'm joined by the moderators of the book club, Brett Popish and Bryan Head. And we have selected our new book, which is now Discover Your Strengths. So I will put a link for that in the chat as well, but I'm just going to kick it off to the two of you to talk a little bit about this book, why we chose it, and what do we hope to have, what impact do we hope to have on our readers' personal and professional lives?
Well, I'll take it off. So the last book was Personality Plus, and the last few books we've read are kind of more external things, how to become a better leader, how to take responsibility, how to take ownership of situations. And, Personality Plus was a more introspective book in my mind, trying to figure out more about us, right? More about our personalities, things that make us tick, things that tick us off, to be honest with you. And so going along that same theme is a book, Now Discover Your Strengths. And I'll let Bryan talk more about this, but it's designed to figure out what you're good at and expand upon those principles that you're already good at, rather than trying to get better at something that you're just not very good at. It's not a strength. And so I know, Bryan, you've talked a lot about that. I can't remember the particular name of the person that talks about that, but why don't you talk a little bit about the principles behind that and the reason this is important?
Yeah, I think this is great. Brett referenced the Personality Plus book that we just finished. It's funny. The exciting thing about the book club is we keep adding people. So the Personality Plus was the largest group we've had so far. And so we had a mix of all the different personality types. What I found interesting, both in the conversations I had one-off with people leading up to the meeting and then at the meeting, is people tended to key in on negatives of their personality at first. We asked the question about positives later, but kind of starting off, people keyed in on, oh, this is something about my personality type that I, don't like or whatever. And yeah, I wasn't going to name names, Jamie, but I think that's a natural tendency. And as a society, and you can, in the intro to this book, or even just the promo, it talks about that. Like, as a society, we've kind of gone heavy on focusing on your weaknesses and developing your weaknesses. In fact, a lot of times when you're interviewing for a job or something, the interviewer will ask you what your weaknesses are. And then, interview coaches tell you, like, you need to respond to that, but position your weakness as a potential strength, kind of a thing. And there's a lot of great coaches throughout the years that focus more on developing your strengths, do the things that you're good at, and then supplement the things that you're not so good at with, additional training or relying on other people that might have those strengths. So there's a couple quotes I've referenced as we've gone through other books. There's a quote that's often attributed to Albert Einstein. I'm not sure if he actually said it, but it's, if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its entire life feeling like it's a failure. So it's not a failure. It just has a different skill set. It's a swimmer, not a climber. The other thing, there was an interview a long time ago with Bill Clinton, and the interviewer asked him, are you a genius? This is when kind of the economy was firing on all cylinders and that kind of thing. And whether you love or hate Bill Clinton doesn't matter. He had a great answer to that question, and it was, I'm not a genius. What I'm a genius at is surrounding myself with people that have different skill sets and knowledge bases, and then I trust the expert. And I think that's huge. Like, so often we focus on, trying to be the master of everything, and we end up not being the expert in anything. Whereas if you focus on your strengths and what you're strong at, and then build from there, or surround yourself with people that can accent your strengths, your pathway to success becomes a whole lot smoother.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that a little bit, I think that if any of us have ever consulted with a business coach about scalability, the first thing a business coach does is try to nail down what you're good at and what you're not good at, and delegating the things that you're not good at. And the reason for that is it's a time effectiveness thing, of course. But if you're not good at something, it'll take you 2 to 3 times longer to accomplish that task than to find somebody that's already good at that. And you can focus on what you're already strong with, because your potential growth, focusing on what you're strong at or what you're already naturally good at, is quite higher, exponentially higher than trying to push yourself along in something that just doesn't suit you, doesn't suit your personality. It's just not something you're very good at. You know what I mean? And so coming off the last book, coming into this book, I think this book is really a good complement to the last book that we did, because the last book was all about, okay, what's our personalities, both professionally and personally, things like that. I think this is going to be more so about professionally, combining it with our personalities to say, okay, this is where I'm strong and here's where I need to put my focus. And, you know, if we're looking at this from a business development standpoint, which I believe we all are, right? I mean, this is the Westminster Chamber. We're all business people. I feel like we can identify quicker how to do certain things to speed up that growth process within our business, whether it's you're looking to scale, whether you're looking just to grow a little bit, whatever that is. This book complements the last one pretty good, I think.
Yeah. And I think too, the benefit of coming together as a group and kind of reading a book like this and talking about it is there's a lot of times where people might identify strengths in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself or you take for granted because it's just part of who you are.
Yeah.
And having a group that can kind of come together and talk through those things like, hey, I see this in you, or hey, this is the guy I rely on for, just yesterday I was having like a brain freeze on a math issue. And so I reached out to Dave Carpenter, who's one of our chamber members, board members. He's an engineer, and he had the answer to me within like 5 seconds. And I had spent like, an hour trying to Google the answer. So, just having other people to both see those things in you, and then, that you can tap for expertise when something comes up like that is big.
I don't know if you know this, Brian, but you have a calculator on your phone?
Yes.
Not that
calculator. This was multiplication, Brett. It's beyond my...
Calculators do multiply.
I'm kidding.
It must have been a word problem. I
was looking for a specific kind of graph is what I was... looking for. If you know anything about me, I'm not a math person at all. I'm a reader.
Well,
I'm like a literature guy.
Dave is. I mean, he's an engineer. So
yeah. So, but yeah, there's value. I mean, Personality Plus, it was interesting. It was cool to have some of those conversations, both in the group and one-off. But I think this one builds upon what we've done so far with some of the professional development, like you started off the call with, and then going into personality types, and then really honing in on where can you develop your strengths. I'm also excited about the time of year that we're reading this book, because I know not everybody's big into like New Year's resolutions and that kind of thing. I'm a big marker of time. So I like New Year's as just kind of a benchmark in time that I can start measuring things against. And so, having a book like this as I'm going into the end of the year and thinking about what next year, what I want that to look like, I think, focusing on what strengths I want to further develop and focus on and bring into my day-to-day is going to be helpful in that process too.
Yeah. The one thing that I'd like to mention about the book club itself when we meet, what's kind of nice. So we had our largest group yet the last time we met last week, which was awesome. But I think what's even better is how we can all talk about the good and the bad with like our personalities and that sort of thing. But we also get very vulnerable with each other and kind of share things that we probably wouldn't share with other people, just because it's a safe setting, right? We're all there for the same reason. There's no judgment. We're not going to sit here and make fun of you because you said something like that. It's really about helping each other get better. And like you said, I possibly identify something in somebody that they themselves don't see. And I feel like that happened a couple times in our meeting the other day.
Yeah. The broadcast, though, not a safe zone. I just caught a stray in the comments from Dave about Googling things, but no, Brett's exactly right. And the fun thing about the club too is we laugh a lot. Like it was hilarious kind of talking through some of these things. So it's a whole lot of fun. It's a good group.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is just a really important topic when we think about our personal lives, our professional lives, and within our professional lives. If certain people are leaders as business owners and business managers, I think by default, most people are. And so how do you think that this book can apply towards leadership in our professional lives?
Mm-hmm. Was that a question?
Yeah.
Well, I think the idea behind this book is obviously developing leadership skills, but also just more introspectively looking at yourself, personal life and business life, and trying to figure out, okay, where am I spending time? Where should I not be spending time on things? And where should I try to focus more of my effort and energy? Just like Bryan said, maybe look at a benchmark. I'm not a personal fan of New Year's resolutions, in all honesty, but however, this is a good time for that time, that time benchmark, right? So maybe you go into the holiday season or go into the new year and you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on this, whatever this is. Maybe it could just be, hey, I need to focus on some relationships that I've let fall through the cracks over the last 12 months, right? Maybe it's, hey, I need to ramp up my business, and this could be a good time to really start honing in on whatever I'm good at. And I've kind of let that lapse a little bit, because I also feel like when we're really good at something, we sometimes take it for granted because we know we can, at a moment's notice, pick up and take off with it. But the problem with that is if you can exponentially grow what you're automatically good at, what are we losing when we take that for granted, right? And I don't know how you quantify that, but I think that this book will probably open a little bit of our eyes on that to really figure out how to be more consistent with those strengths that we all have.
Yeah. And I think to kind of build on that, I think sometimes just as a society, or we as people, we have sort of this false hierarchy of strengths, meaning we kind of value certain strengths over others. Like people might look at somebody with charisma or the ability to speak publicly or that kind of thing as, oh, that person's the best kind of leader. Or, in another industry, you might look at somebody that's way more analytical, as the best kind of leader. But there's value in every strength. There's not one strength that's better to have than another. And as a leader, your job, no matter what, whether it's your household or your business or the industry that you're working in or the community, the most effective thing that you can do as a leader is build cohesive team that brings complementary strengths together. If you're sitting in a boardroom and every single person is that strategic thinker that's kind of long-term vision, you have nobody to go implement that vision. You're going to fail miserably. If
Right.
you have a bunch of worker bees and you don't have the vision, you're going to have busy work and not progress. And so, I think as a leader, understanding your own strengths is important, but then also understanding the strengths of the people that are around you and then utilizing them for two things: the success of the organization, and when somebody is living in their lane, when they're living in their strengths, they're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel more like a part of the team. They're going to contribute more. They're going to have a lot more fulfillment from the work that they're doing, rather than you trying to, force a square peg into a round hole.
Right.
They're just going to be bashing their head against the wall trying to make something work that's not within their wheelhouse.
Yep. Well, and on that note, from the business owners that we have within the chamber as well as in the group, think about how powerful that can be if you're able to identify a team member or an employee. They're not quite right where they're at, but you're able to identify something that they're really good at, and maybe you move them in there. How far can that grow your business? And what sort of loyalty is that going to foster within your company? Because, hey, you took this person from a position that really wasn't their strong suit, put them in something else. They feel more empowered, as you said, but then they also take ownership of that new position and help you grow your business.
Yeah. I like this comment from Brian Dice. there's an opportunity cost to everything. And then also he references like this book can help us choose how we spend time with our business. There's a lot of times where your ROI on a specific activity is going to be much higher because it plays to your strengths. And so those should be, prioritized, and things that have a lower ROI, maybe they can be delegated. Maybe they can, you can bring in, like Brett's saying, somebody that does that better than you, and build a cohesive team that way.
Yep. Cool. So Jamie, do you want to let everybody know when that meeting is? Because we're not going to meet like we normally have because of the holiday coming up. So
yeah, so we're kind of combining November and December. We're going to meet December 10th at 4 p.m. It'll be the same location that it's been, Kokopelli Beer Company. And if it's the first time you're there, you will go in, make a left, and go all the way into their back room area, and they're happy to show you as well if you just let them know why you're there. But yeah, December 10th.
okay.
4 p.m.
And I would say the more the merrier. The last group we had, the last meeting was probably one of the funnest because we had such a diverse group, and the conversation just was a great time. So
yeah.
It's very not business-like, but business-like at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know any of us, you'll know us by the time you leave. You'll have a good time, and
you'll know a little bit too much about us.
Yeah, you might learn a little too much about us. If you get nervous, just make fun of Jamie. That's what we all do. But it's good. There's no quiz. You don't have to worry about if you're not a great reader or whatever. Just get through the book however you can, and as much of it as you can, and then we'll have fun as a group discussing it.
Yeah, and if you're not a great reader, books on tape is always good. What I'd recommend, however you purchase the book, be sure to take the self-assessment if you can. If you purchase the book brand new, I think you should have a link that you can do the self-assessment for free. If not, it's not a big deal. You don't have to do the self-assessment, but it certainly can help from a more introspective standpoint if you're able to take that. So.
And we'll keep looking into that and see what the options there are, and post them on the readers Facebook page, and try to get that information out to everybody. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Bryan and Brett, for joining me today. And thanks for everybody who tuned in. And we hope to see you at our next book club.
All right. Thanks everybody.
Yeah.